Hey everybody, before we get on to the Easter eggs, I just wanted to give you a quick thanks for watching all of my videos. I appreciate it immensely and it means so much. Now this video will not only cover every single Easter egg noted in my previous videos, but also a bunch of other Easter eggs that I missed that I either found on a rewatch or was told about in the comments section. Hopefully this covers most of the Easter eggs in these episodes, but on the off chance I still miss some, I'm planning to make a video compiling every single Easter egg from every episode in Season 1 once everything is released, and I'll try to include it there. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Beginning with Episode 1, the lens flare at the beginning of the episode looks like a D20. There's a lot of D20s hidden throughout every episode, so keep a lookout for them. The first adventuring party shown is a reference to the heroes in The Lord of the Rings. There's an elven ranger, a human, a halfling, a dwarf, and of course an elderly wizard, symbolizing Gandalf. The wizard resembling Gandalf almost has Gandalf's classic "you shall not pass" line, but it was a fake out just like this whole scene. This orc in the tavern has a strange tattoo on his hand which I looked into to try and find its origin, but it looks like it's just representing his faction, Agar's Assassins. For fans of the show, we get to see Vax utilizing his blink back bag, which brings his daggers back to him, as well as a classic Percy misfire. The tavern keep seen here is an NPC that Kickstarter backers got to design alongside Travis, Liam, and Sam in a livestream. Grog has a bag of holding, an item that allows you to store a bunch of items. This is the first sighting of the Matthew Mercer NPC. He's peed on by Scanlan, which may reference Scanlan and Vax's pee competition in episode 72, or more likely it's just a funny bit where Matt gets peed on. As the party is entering the palace, you can see Critical Role's logo on the doors. Percy wants to go ahead and explain the name VOX MACHINA, but he's cut off. To explain it to you in case you don't know, VOX MACHINA means voice machine in Latin. However, in the pre-stream campaign, the party was known as the Super High Intensity Team. The Council of Tal'Dorei mentions a few groups here. First of all, Agar's Assassins, which calls back to the orc in the tavern. The Death Dealers, which are a group in D&D 4e. The Murder Hobos, which is a common trope in D&D about a party that has no home and just murders people. And the Taurian Butchers, which references Taurian the Iron Butcher from Warhammer 40k. Vax's snake belt seen here is an actual item from the campaign. In the campaign, the belt can turn into a serpent named Simon. Vex's favorite enemy / primeval awareness, given to her by her ranger class in the campaign, is shown off in the first 2 episodes often, as it allows her to detect when dragons are in her presence. It seems though in the animated series that this feature is going to be passive. The stones that are lifting up this airship are called broomstones. The belt that Grog has in these episodes is not the belt of Dwarven kind, as that item gives the wearer a beard. It looks like they may give Grog a different item that may have the same effect later on in the series, so he matches his in-campaign counterpart. These 2 kids are voiced by Sam Riegel's son and Liam O'Brien's daughter. This kid asking Vax if he's a wizard may reference Liam playing a wizard in Critical Role's second campaign. When Keyleth uses Call Lightning, she does the same arm and hand motion that Marisha used when she cast Call Lightning during the campaign. Vex uses her Blazing Bowstring. This is an item in the campaign that allowed Vex to do more damage. This kid who died might have a lasting effect on Vax in terms of dealing with other people who may take an interest in adventuring. This could foreshadow the events of Kynan. In the campaign, Kynan was a young boy who wanted to adventure like Vox Machina, but was told not to by Vax because it was too dangerous. And lastly, Critical Role's production company for the animated series is called MetaPigeon. This is a reference to an ongoing joke in Campaign 2, where the cast jokingly metagames and hides it through the use of pigeon coos. That should be all for Episode 1. It is time to get into Episode 2. General Krieg states that there's a storm blowing through, which is a reference to his name, the Iron Storm, and foreshadows the events that are about to take place. As Trinket makes his way throughout the party, you'll notice that Scanlan does not receive any bear love. Now we're going to get to an area full of Easter eggs, Gilmore's glorious goods found in the Abdar Promenade of Amon. There's a lot to unpack here, and a few things I didn't catch in my previous video, so let's get to it. First of all, the taxidermied Crimson Weasel is a reference to Critical Role's second campaign, in which one of the characters has a pet Crimson Weasel. The Triceratops skull is foreshadowing events that are probably going to take place later in the series, wherein Scanlan does some really cool shit. For the sake of people who don't know what I'm talking about, I'll leave it at that so as to not spoil it. There is a prominently displayed smutty book called Tusk of Love, referencing the same book within the world of Critical Role's second campaign. There's a broom in the shop, presumably a flying broom, which can be seen in the interior of the shop. Vex actually did have a flying broom in the campaign later on, and this may reference that. This sandal shown off here is a reference to the Sandal of Gygax, a sandal that Gary Gygax, co-creator of D&D, created. Not's flask is also seen here within the interior. Not was a character in the second campaign of Critical Role. This skull looks a bit like Bo, a character within Critical Role's second campaign, mostly due to the hairstyle and earrings. Gilmore mentions a lance of dragon slaying, which is a reference to the dragon lance setting created by Laura and Tracy Hickman. Lastly, Gilmore does the same coin trick that Vax did in the first episode. The Matthew Mercer NPC makes his return, pulling some barrels over into the square, though his luck hasn't gotten better as Grog starts drinking from them. There's a duck person in the back here, which may reference the Totem of the Duck, barbarian subclass that Matt created, or more likely it's just a duck person in the background. Vox Machina struggling to get the door open references the fact that in the campaign they are also unable to open doors easily if they're locked or blockaded. General Krieg's room has a ton of different details littered about, so let's get to it. First of all, this painting that Grog takes a liking to is signed by an artist named Jameson. In the campaign, Jameson is later commissioned by Scanlan to create a portrait of himself. There's a Githyanki skull here. Later in the campaign, the same Githyanki skull causes a bit of debate between the party, but for the sake of new viewers, I won't touch on that too much in case it props up in the later season. There's a cracked dragon egg here, which may be the same egg that General Krieg hatched from, or it could be the egg that this wormling in this jar was hatched from. There's a lot of draconic decorations on display like the painting, rug, and ornaments, which foreshadow General Krieg's true nature. Within General Krieg's hoard of treasure, we've got some more Easter eggs. First of all, a dice tray with dice and spell cards. A troll dick, an item that Vox Machina actually had within their campaign, though they had gotten it through very different means. Finally, the voice for this mysterious person that was alerted by Keyleth is Cree Summer. Although viewers of the campaign will know who Cree Summer is voicing here, I won't spoil that for the sake of viewers who haven't seen the campaign. We get a nod to Percy's aristocratic past as, within the illusion, he calls Vax a peasant. Also, Percy Naruto running is funny by itself, but also may reference the fact that many of the cast have voice acted for Naruto and other anime. Vax is saved by Scanlan's Big B's hand, which leads to a fastball special. A fastball special is a common trope wherein a large character throws a smaller one for an attack. This was actually used within the campaign at various points as well. And another note on this sequence, the boulder that is about to smash Vax is shaped like a D20. This references a few things. First, that the show, its story, and its characters come from Dungeons & Dragons, which uses dice to dictate decisions. Second, Vax has something called a luck feat within the game that allows him to re-roll dice and save himself in intense situations. And lastly, that Vax, within the campaign, is Fate Touch, which makes his actions reverberate around the world to a larger extent than others. Vox Machina received the deed to their keep. This keep is known as Grayskull Keep within the campaign, which references Grayskull and He-Man. However, they will undoubtedly have to change that name to avoid copyright issues. And wouldn't you know it, we've made our way to episode 3. This book that Ioana DeRollo, Percy's mom, is reading has a puppet on the page. This may reference Marisha's character in Campaign 3, Laudna, who has a backstory focused on Whitestone and the DeRollos and has a puppet named Pate DeRollo. However, since the timing of this is unknown, this might just be a fun coincidence since Campaign 3 is relatively new and the series has been in the works for a while. Though it hardly counts as an Easter egg because of how prominently displayed it is, Percy's Plague Doctor mask is seen here first before he wears it in the episode. When Keyleth enters the room, a bunch of pigeons fly off and some stay nearby the table. This is a reference to the metagaming pigeon inside joke I explained earlier. Also, you'll notice that Scanlan is eating chicken for breakfast. This is a reference to the campaign wherein Scanlan's mansion only served chicken for breakfast as a joke. The banners in Vox Machina's keep represent a series of events called VOX MACHINA. During this, the party turned into cows to try to follow a giant bird called a roc, which was killing livestock. This is represented on these banners with cows and a bird. Later, Grog seems to have taken down one of these banners and wears it for the fancy outfit at the banquet later in the episode. Scanlan's fancy attire references a few things. Firstly, Sam Riegel's eccentric live show outfits in the campaign like this one or this one, and the colors are also of the polysexual flag, which may represent Scanlan's sexuality. The Matthew Mercer NPC returns again for a third time, this time as a clerk to collect weapons. He seems to be a part of every episode, so keep a lookout for him. Also, there's this strange roasted half pig, half turkey or chicken on the table. Not sure if this is a reference to something or just a strange meal. The angle that Percy's face is shot at is a common trope in anime wherein a character begins to freak out. At the banquet, the seating arrangement of the party is actually the same as the seating arrangement of the cast in the campaign. During the dinner, Vex covers her mouth when she speaks, which references Vex's ability in the campaign and seemingly also in the series to read lips. As such, she is being careful and not allowing others to read her lips as well. Grog's suggestion for the code word to be Chenga is in reference to the code word that the cast used for dangerous situations in Campaign 1, which was Jenga. Obviously, they couldn't really use this word for the series because it's copywritten. Simon's here. The serpent belt seen throughout every episode finally turns into a snake to help Vax sneak into the room of the Briarwoods. Also, Simon wearing an eye patch is a reference to Snake from the Metal Gear franchise, as well as a one-eyed trouser snake. There's a few things in this chest that Vax opens. Gems that look like dice, eyeballs, and what looks like to be a skull of a bird and some bones. This could all reference various necromancy spell components, as we later found out in the episode that Delilah Briarwood was a necromancer. During Percy's outbreak at the dinner table, we can see that Seeker Assume, the halfling on the Tal'Dorei Council, is looking at the Briarwoods during the exchange. In the campaign, Seeker Assume plays a larger role in getting information on the Briarwoods, but within this series, his role may have been limited. Silas Briarwood isn't seen in the mirror in this shot. This page that Vax is looking at has the name The Whispered One. This is the nickname of Vecna, a classic Dungeons & Dragons villain. However, since that is a Wizards of the Coast property, they will have to go by the Whispered One instead. Some aspects of the Whispered One's design are changed as well, which seems to include blindfolded eyes and a symbol on his head. Lastly, I tried to decode some of these characters, but they seem to just be placed randomly and rotated and flipped in some areas. However, the amount of characters does fit certain phrases like Whispered One. Finally, Silas Briarwood regenerates as vampires are able to within Dungeons & Dragons. However, he is also unable to regenerate if he takes radiant damage, which is what Pike allows Grog to inflict onto him. Alright, well those are all of the Easter eggs for the Legend of Vox Machina from Episode 1 to Episode 3. Thank you so much for watching, and if you'd like to stick around for more, I'm going to be doing more Easter eggs and detailed breakdowns for every episode in the series, and also I'm going to be doing some other Dungeons & Dragons content, so if you think you might be interested, stick around for that. Bye bye!